Coming up today on Locked On at Texas Tech, I'm saying something I'm thinking I can't believe I'm saying. College football playoff, bring the computers back in.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. With the only Chris Level, I'm Casey Cowan. Thanks for making us your first listen. And on today's episode, Chris, we are looking ahead to Central Florida. We're actually going to take a listen to their head coach, Scott Frost, talking about the message this week. And, of course, I think there's a pretty easy motivating point for the Golden Knights / Citronauts if they care to use it. I'll explain coming up in just a moment. Also want to get to something out there on my mind this week, of course, in the shadow of another round of college football playoff rankings, another round of college football playoff rankings explained by Mac Rhodes and some others. Chris, always an interesting endeavor. Texas Tech, of course, moving on up on that list. As far as that goes, it's number 6 if you haven't seen it so far. I want to get to as well something being discussed courtesy of a comment from an SEC head coach when it comes to a playoff or bust mentality for this fan base, that fan base, your favorite fan base. Get to that in just a moment. But can I cook a little beef here for a minute? Because as I'm thinking about the college football playoff rankings process, Chris, and the committee that's in place, this is on the heels of me being a college football fan that once upon a time really did not enjoy the computer impact of the whole process. The BCS era, etc., was sort of mysterious and sometimes just outright unknown to a lot of college football fans as to how that was breaking down. And there are only a couple of spots up for grabs. So we fast forward now. We've expanded sensibly the postseason field. You're erring more so on the side of, get this, what the scoreboard says through the regular season. That's a good step in the right direction. We are still involving the human element in a committee, however. Okay, so to my local beef, I don't know if you spend a lot of time like taking in the explanation part of the process from figureheads and leadership, Mac Rhodes being one who's quoted week to week, but some of these, as it relates to Texas Tech, have stood out to me. I'll give you the latest explanation for how they're slotted in. This from college football playoff chairman Mac Rhodes on the Red Raiders this week. Quote, what a convincing win against BYU, both sides of the ball. I think offensively in the red zone, they've left some points off the board, kicked a lot of field goals, but they're a really good football team. Their front seven defensively we think is as good as there is in the country. Baron Morton is playing with a bad leg. Really, really tough kid. I think offensively is what's kept them out of the top 4 or top 5, end quote. It almost brings to mind some other calls and explanations made and delivered in previous years I'll circle back to in a minute. But, Chris, I'm uncomfortable with sort of, I guess, the method we've gotten into with this subjective analysis of not just like a resume, wins and losses and the quality of those, but no, we're actually rating components of your team as we see them from the boardroom, which actually is not what I signed up for as a college football fan when it comes to a title deciding process. Am I missing something, or are you picking up what I'm putting down? I'm a little frustrated by what seems to be the perspective on their role or how they should be approaching setting a playoff field. Where am I going wrong, or where maybe do you agree?
I have lots of opinions on this.
Deliver them, please.
Okay. So we're clear. They have these shows. It's a part of the contract. They're ratings drivers. They want the attention week to week leading up to it, because what we are seeing is meaningful, but it's also not. So we're clear there. I do in some ways, because this, as we know, this is going to change so much, and it didn't really from last week to this week, although there was the BYU Texas Tech result. You hopped Ole Miss. They played the Citadel and all that stuff. But it's with so many games coming up over the next month or whatever, you're going to see changes continue to be made to this. I will say the one positive, because each committee is different. Each season is played out different. So it's like historical precedents. It's like, well, that committee felt the need to lean into this more. And so there's no like hard and fast. We want to think that way. The one positive that I do like about what Mack Rhodes said about Texas Tech is that they are basically telling you score more points. So you want to know where you're at? You don't have to wonder. We're telling you. And I guess from that standpoint, I kind of like it in a weird way. I don't know if I agree with everything, but they're telling you what they think and why things are the way that they are. So you kind of know the deal. And if you want to tack one or two on at the end of an upcoming game, then I think that's what they're kind of telling you to do.
You're saying run it up.
Well, I mean, if you have the
enough.
opportunity, that's what he's basically saying. You're getting a little credit because your quarterback is injured and on all those things. But I want to react, but I also don't want to overreact because this exercise week to week, again, there are some positives here because, again, they're telling you their reasoning. And yes, they may use a different reason next week and a different one the week after that and all those things. And this is like this weird exercise of this ranking and this bracket and all these things. And yet it's just at the end of the day, what is it really? I don't know. But
initial steps.
Yes. Yeah. This is a ratings driver. It's built into their contract with ESPN to have this build up and have these conversations so people like us will talk about it. But the one positive I will take from it is that they are basically telling you, we like a lot about what you've got going on, but here's your problem. And I got to tell you, I bet Joey would agree with it. Not maybe where he's at or whatever, but he would agree that, we got to get this red zone thing fixed. We got to get this offense rolling to where it's humming along. I guess BYU doesn't get any credit here for how good their red zone defense was or whatever. I don't know. Do they factor in the drops and some of the penalties and this and that? I don't know. But it is there are a lot of conversation points to kind of take it and run with it for sure. And not just we're talking about our situation here with Texas Tech and the Big 12, but I'm sure there's a lot of issues, which, again, that's the whole point of it.
I think it's a fool's errand to begin with. I know some yokels got to sit in front of the camera, so I try not to be too hard on these guys specifically. You got to give answers, explanations. You're going to wind up talking out of both sides of your mouth and circling back in some hypocritical way on what you previously said. It's just the way it's going to go, so I don't envy anybody having to be in that situation. But here's what I would say, and I do agree, I guess in sort of a more practical way, okay, here's the reality. How do we apply it? I definitely hear what you're saying about they're pointing out to you what you are lacking within. But here's what I'd say to that, and I'll give you a memory that I'm still stuck with from years gone by and how it applies to a fear of mine maybe looking ahead this year. But what I would say to that is it's none of your damn business what we're doing offensively. We'll score as many points as necessary to win the game, not looking to a committee to assess the worthiness of the offensive profile of this team as it relates to a playoff field. It's just not something I'm interested in or care about, nor do I feel like that's how you actually determine a race for a national championship. And the fear that I have for this path we're kind of traveling now, and you mentioned okay, some credit maybe for your QB situation right now, but I got a memory of a Florida State situation and a QB situation and a decision that it was made in light of that as it relates to the playoff. And if Baron Morton is to survive this regular season, but it's a limp or something along those lines, all of a sudden are we coming back out and being docked because they're saying, well, there's no way the offense could actually be better than what we've seen so far. And, sure, they're fighting and, yada, yada, yada. Maybe a team could pick up a teammate or an area of the team that is missing an impactful player, but we don't care because we've decided they're not worthy of that opportunity. Bothered me so much going back to the previous year's example, Chris, that we kind of look at personnel and then tell however many other men are on that roster, you don't get a chance to pick up that slack. We don't think you can. So nice try better luck next year. That's how I can see this thing sort of spinning if we're just all on board with them subjectively week to week assessing like phases and stages of your win. How about the win? And I know when it comes to comparing resumes and quality of wins, that obviously includes having to think something about this team or that team and what they are worth. But I don't know. It seems like we really plunged into like the human aspect of it with these explanations over the last few years. And you're right about year to year. It's kind of like they cling to some like different angle on it. And all of a sudden that's the most important data point. So again, the human element is there, but I can't believe it. I actually sort of find myself thinking. First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel, and football is in full force, and FanDuel is keeping you stocked with action every game day with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet only $5, and if your bet hits, you're getting $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. Any way you like it, FanDuel has you covered. Quick, easy, and secure every time. If you're ready to play, download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And the human element is there, but I can't believe it. I actually sort of find myself thinking, let's roll the computers back in. Turn those machines back on. That's a Trading Places quote. I'm not so sure I'm not missing the BCS era. Just with a bigger playoff field. That's all we really were missing maybe at that time.
Yeah, and you're kind of referencing Florida State in 2023 with Jordan Travis. The benefit you probably have here is that was the last year of just the 4-team field. I think with the field being expanded, I think you would, in any other year, Florida State absolutely would have been in.
Sure, but it's in relation to him talking about, well, here's what's keeping them out of the top 4 or 5.
And you're
it's
right.
The offense. Well, what is – oh, sorry.
Yeah, and that's fair. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Fair. So I did not like cutting off the rest of the team at the knees because I think you should always have an opportunity to maybe overcome a setback.
Except for in college football.
Oh, yeah.
when they sit in the Metroplex in a fancy hotel with their bagel station and their all the different
bagel station.
Yeah, that's remember when that was like a thing where bagels like a snack or a meal or whatever, that whole NCAA thing. Yeah, anyway,
simpler time.
Exactly. Yes.
When it comes to the playoffs, I wanted to run something else by you, Chris. I'm wondering if you were noticing sort of the conversation as it shifts this time of year for some head coaches, and maybe some playoff odds are getting long in their particular locale, and they're starting to have to sort of rev up the fans to be proud of a guaranteedrate.com bowl appearance. All right, that's not too bad either. And one of these examples was here and getting discussed this week, courtesy of an SEC head coach, this one from Columbia, Missouri, saying, quote, "We got to get out of this. Oh, man, it's playoffs or bust. If the season only counts for 12 football teams and we got 127 D1 teams, that math's not going to math very well. There's a whole heck of a lot to be proud of." That's a man who thinks he's making a profound point, but definitely isn't. Chris, I'm going to go ahead and side on the case-by-case approach to this. Look, maybe in Columbia, Missouri, you need to get them pumped up about the Poinsettia Bowl. But that's not the case everywhere. And sorry, this is the way competition works. I know we're emerging from a sentimental bowl system, but this is just the way it goes. And if you're using it against a playoff argument or as some con to the system, I got beef with it.
Yeah, well, this is how I get what Drinkowitz is saying. Okay, Eli Drinkowitz, the head coach at Missouri, because his starting quarterback is out for the year. They were in the mix, and now they're not going to be, and all that. This is largely how college basketball coaches have to process their season sometimes, because you can have a monster year and you get bounced, and it's like, so we don't get to feel good about a conference championship. We don't get to feel good about a really good year because it's like it's all based on the tournament. I get it. And that's kind of what's happening in college football now that we've got a playoff that's a bit expanded. I think he kind of commented that the math is a bit tricky. And again, there's limited spots. And he's in a league where it is the plate is widened for that league. They're going to get more teams in than most leagues, and whether we agree with that or not, that's just the reality of it. And maybe if you're Missouri's head coach, you don't want to, like if you're Bama or Georgia, it probably is playoff or bust. And in some cases they're national championship or bust, really.
Yeah.
And it's a bit tricky because I think if I was him, I probably wouldn't have said that aloud. I get where he's coming from. Because you have to find joy in what you're doing, and it can't just be all or nothing, or the whole thing sucks for you personally. And he probably should have just said that to the missus or his own administration privately or something. I don't know, but I get what he's saying. But you're at a job and in a conference where you've got some advantages that most don't. And I'm sorry your quarterback got hurt, but and maybe the Missouri fan base will go, "Hey man, yeah, we're building this thing. You've kind of turned this thing around, and we're not there yet to where we're going to be pissed off if we don't make it to the playoff or whatever." But interesting thing to say aloud. But this is largely how college basketball coaches have to process their seasons sometimes, and I certainly get where he's coming from. And this has now entered the equation because of an expanded playoff. Previously, you would have never heard anybody really say it's this or not when there was only 2 spots or 4 spots. But now that there's 12 and there's rumors of maybe even growing there, and he's in that league, it does make you look at it differently. But again, maybe keep that in your holster there and not say it aloud to everybody.
Yeah, think twice about it. Don't hit send, or do if you're just flailing for anything and grasping for straws.
Right.
They're in Columbia, Missouri. And yeah, we wouldn't say anything about it previously because there's only 2 damn spots.
I know.
What's the use of even talking about it? It was over for everybody before it even began. Oh, let's get on to exhibition season, known as the postseason. It's case by case in all situations. Basketball as well. Look, some of you are looking to get in. Some of you are looking to get past the first weekend. Some are national title, Final Four, or bust. Some are in between. I remember wanting to throw a parade when Tubby Smith just got us back in the bracket. Just the name in the bracket, Chris, once upon a time, felt fantastic. Things change, however, and for the better, obviously, if you're advancing beyond that. But I do think it's definitely something that I look at from a competition standpoint and would just say it's also really, really difficult to look at a better way to find out truly for such a massive number. The number that he's actually throwing out there, I guess he thinks in favor of his argument, to me actually makes the argument otherwise, in that you really have got to do better than what you did for about 100 plus years when it comes to trying to decide a national champion through such a wide and diverse field of competitors. And we are eking our way towards doing that in a much, much better way, in my opinion. But I don't know, man. I think I would have probably kept that to myself. And it's something that's also tricky when you're thinking about coaching people up on what to be proud on. You ever taken any advice actually on what to be proud on? It kind of just comes naturally. I think you decide for yourself.
Yeah, I was about to say that's to each his own, because it's like to localize this thing. It's like our conversations back in the summertime. Would you have been happy with a 9-3? Would you be happy with a 10-2? And some of these scenarios are still on the table for you, even though people are kind of starting to dare to dream a little bit here.
Yeah, Chris, can I put it to you this way? Because this is how I wanted to wrap. Like, playoffs or bust, Arlington or bust. I think one is a yes, the other is not that way for a Texas Tech fan. It's all about the Big 12 title game, right?
And that's what it always was about. I mean, I know others maybe viewed it differently, but internally it was always Arlington or bust, because this was the ticket you had never punched before. And I think one leads to the other, right? Yeah. So we're clear. And you maybe have played your way into a scenario to where, Arlington, if you just make it to Arlington, regardless of the result, there may be still a spot for you. I just don't know if anybody wants to. I want to be selfish, and I'd like to see Joey hold up a trophy in Arlington personally. But you got to get there first, and all those things. But the way these rankings have played out. I mean, and there's going to be some other chaos that happens. You just don't need to be a part of it. Again, I can't emphasize that enough, and we'll get to this UCF game here in a second. But, I think that it was always all about Arlington. That was the point. What did James Blanchard in that one article about the defensive line that you invested in and everything like that? And he said there was a line in there in that story that he said something to the effect of, the Big 12 is not equipped to handle this. It's all about your league and handling your league and winning your league and all that. Because if you do that, it takes you to other places. And that's the same thing that Grant's dealing with on the basketball side. If you can contend for a conference championship in the Big 12 conference and on the basketball side, you're going to get opportunities in the NCAA tournament. And if you're weathered and you can handle it and you're tough enough to withstand the conference gauntlet as the Big 12, then you can damn sure handle what the NCAA tournament will dole out to you. And I think that for football, it was all about Arlington, and you're not quite there. You're not quite there yet.
No, you are not. Somebody trying to bait me into using the word locked up this week when it comes to a conference championship game appearance. I refused. And in part, it's because of what's coming to town and then where you've got to go when you leave town. Final 2 weeks of this regular season, Chris. Before we get out of here, I wanted to take a listen to UCF head coach Scott Frost talking about a message to the team this week. And I think there's some low-hanging fruit for any coach that would happen to be facing the Red Raiders on the other side of the weekend we just came off of. First, today's episode brought to you by SupplyHouse. And when the whistle blows on a new repair, you can get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. SupplyHouse's real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting any projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Needing parts fast for a project? SupplyHouse has next-day delivery, and that's a game changer. And their Trademaster perks like priority shipping and dedicated support make any process smoother. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. And visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use our promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your first order. That's SHCollege5 at SupplyHouse.com for 5% off your first order. Real people, real service at SupplyHouse.com. UCF head coach Scott Frost talking about a message to the team this week. And I think there's some low-hanging fruit for any coach that would happen to be facing the Red Raiders on the other side of the weekend we just came off of. I'll explain in just a moment. Here's UCF head coach Scott Frost.
I think the big thing for our football team, quarterback included, is we're not making enough hard plays. When we scheme something or there's something right there for us to make, particularly offensively, we make the play. We need some more dirty yards. We need a quarterback to hang in the pocket and make a tough throw. We need to break a tackle, make a guy miss. We need to run and get a first down when it's appropriate. And Davi did some of those things. Whoever's playing quarterback, we need to see those things from. And when you watch the good teams at any level, that's what happens. If everything has to be perfect for us to function well, then we're not a very good team. We need to make it happen even when it looks different or it gets a little tough. And, that's part of the growing process. We got to be, again, like I said, doing the tough things. It's tougher to win on the road than it is at home. It's easy to play your best at home when all the fans are behind you. It's more fun to go on the road and surprise somebody and fight through something hard. That reward is bigger. But you got to be tough to do that. You got to be together and you got to be tough. And to this point, we haven't won on the road. We haven't been up to that challenge, but we get another shot this week.
Chris, it's got to be easy for any head coach to look Texas Tech's way and say, look at them, they're celebrating. They think they got the title game locked up. They're still having the parade. The pom-poms are out. Let's go get all up. Whether or not you can do it, I don't know, but that seems like an easy message for anybody to utilize this.
Sure. I mean, absolutely. And I think, Coach Frost's team is – they're just trying to get this thing turned around. They have not won a road game this year. We'll get to that in a second. But, it's they've had some quarterback and running back injuries. But you're right. I mean, they can come in here with nothing to lose and just kind of swing away at it and see if you can catch the Red Raiders sleeping. And I think there's some concern that all the fans won't show up to this game. What will the student turnout be? Will everybody use their tickets? I mean, folks, these are high stakes games, man, and this is just as much of a must win as the BYU game largely was. This is all anybody has ever asked for, and like you have to get a result here. You will lead off Sports Center for the wrong reasons if you don't. I mean, that's just what it is, and these are games you've got to take care of your business. It's senior day, and Frost is trying to get his guys to grind and strain a bit. He talked a lot about, we're still trying, we're having fun, we're going to keep swinging away at it, and it doesn't matter who we insert at quarterback or running back. We're just going to keep, in Florida, Central Florida, they've got some legit speed. It's a different kind of athlete at their program. Typically, that's why you see these edge rushers and all those things. But you cannot fiddle around with this game. You just cannot do it, and it's a scary game for you, and it's not for them. And those kind of suck in some ways.
Sure, you could give back everything you've earned. I mean, that's the gist of these situations, final 2 weeks of the regular season. And unfortunately, Chris, when you are thinking about some things between the lines, I know we've touched on it already this week, but for the opponent, that talk mostly being led by a pass rushing angle. I mean, you're talking about game-changing type of guys or game-changing type of positions where you also expect that kind of thing to travel. And I know the road success hadn't been there for them, but I hadn't come across many quality pass rushers over the years that really care what stadium it is or what's happening around them. It's just kind of like this tackle's getting worked, this quarterback's getting got to, or whatever it may be. So that angle, man, one that I really can't get away from. I don't mean to just continue to hammer it, but as far as the road component and trying to pull off something anywhere on earth, taking a pass rush with you or some guys in that category that can change the game, a great first foot forward. There's no doubt about that. So this is just one of those weeks, like I said, where you feel sort of precarious. Every ball is in your court. There's no question. But we've seen strange things. The ball is oblong shape. It can bounce funnily in a way.
Well, it just can't be sleepy. It just can't. And that's where you lean on the Jacob Rodriguez's of the world that want to know each week and the maturity of your team and all those things. But I certainly hope everything is on point with your crowd and everything like that, because these are just all the things that people want. Arlington hosting a playoff game, all the things that everybody's trying to buy tickets for and looking at and like daring to dream a little bit. You got to be where your feet are. You have to. And you can look over UCF all you want, but crazy stuff happens at the end of these college football seasons, and you just don't want to be a part of the crazy. You want to keep it normal and keep taking care of your business. And now you've been put on the radar a little bit from a standpoint of you've been challenged by the head of the committee. Your offense didn't score enough points. That's what's keeping you out. So you should look in the mirror a little bit and take that as a challenge and some motivation to come out and be pissed off for greatness. I mean, seriously.
He went Coach Yost on us. Herman, leave no doubt.
That's right. That's right.
Yes, sir. 10-4.
Yeah. I mean, that's right. So you can certainly flip that too. But it's just these are tricky. It's going to be a tricky couple of 2 or 3 weeks here for the old Red Raiders, because you just cannot get ahead of yourself.
Yeah, keep those talking points handy too, Chris. Don't put them on the back of the shelf, because we're going to whip them back out next week, presuming you get through this weekend successfully, because it even gets trickier, because then you're going to throw in a road component and a team that, at least as we're sitting here talking today, has an arrow sort of pointing upward in the Mountaineers. So cross that bridge when we get there, probably a rope bridge, maybe just a couple of stones across a pond in the case of West Virginia. But nonetheless, it's the Citronauts fitting the description of the next potential victim. First, we got another go-round. Mailbag mode is on deck, Chris. And already questions and texts rolling in about a big weekend when it comes down to something that is now very interesting to Red Raider fans, scoreboard watching. So I'm actually kind of anxious to look elsewhere across the country with you, and, of course, get into a whole lot of different subjects as we get into the Matador Mob mailbag. So appreciate the time today and looking forward to it.
Yeah, these Knights are 0-3 on the road. They've scored on average, I think, 11 points a game in those 3 road losses. They only scored 3 in their last road trip in Waco, and so your defense needs to continue to play well. Because again, these are the things that will get used against you if you don't want to give the committee any more fodder. You don't want to give them any more reason to go, wow, we need to break a tie, and it came out kind of sleepy against UCF, or man, the stands were half full, or I mean, this is where you're at. I mean, it's just this is the game of poker that you're playing right now. So anyway, yes, send in the questions. Happy to answer whatever you've got coming our way, and guns up, and big basketball game coming up Friday night as well, and as Grant's team tries to get back into the win column against the Milwaukee Panthers. How about that? The Panthers' name is Pounce the Panther. Strange. And then we'll be back at it at Jones ATT on Saturday for maybe the last time, maybe. But you gotta take care of one before the other is a possibility.
Get subscribed on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Thanks to the Everydayers for always riding along, and the Matador Mob. And, of course, hit our show notes and find a link to a free 14-day trial if you're interested in joining that crew. Your direct line to Chris and myself with one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks, as always, for the time. We hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.